Well, either you're closing your eyes to a situation you do not wish to acknowledge, or you are not aware of the caliber of disaster.
Hello.
The Emperor has been expecting you.
You're gonna get your mind right.
Warning. Common sense incoming.
Alive. It's alive!
Warning, this contains explicit material suitable for children.
Great heavens! What kind of radio show is this?
This is the Blab.
A constituent of mine came up to me and wanted to know why she was able to excuse me. I had to tell her that she was
keep humming, you'll get there eventually.
Her name is Robin Comey. First of all, welcome to the Blab.
Yes.
My name is Scott Edward Phelps.
Dave Simmons, obviously.
And Robin Comey is a Connecticut state legislator who was in the news this past week because she was apparently what we used to call down in New Orleans, faced. She was faced after coming back from lunch. And the reason that I started off with that, we're going to bounce that around just a little teeny tiny bit, was that she blamed, quote, anxiety, exhaustion, and she admitted to having a little wine with lunch, or a little lunch with wine. But the story where I saw this and heard the sound clip, and then Kimmel, it was Jimmy Kimmel that had shown the video on his program there. Apparently, more and more state legislatures are dealing with the issue of a lot of their legislators coming back or showing up faced. And I thought, well, you know what that's all about? I thought about it for a minute. I said, it's small wonder if you think about it, because so many in local government and state government have realized the terror amongst us.
It came without warning. They didn't realize that they'd be stuck with the thing that wouldn't leave.
When Trump was elected, within 20 minutes after being elected, the talk shows and the various pundits started talking about what happens. Yeah, and not 1 minute too fucking soon. 1 minute after, they were talking about the scenario where what happens in 4 years if he doesn't get reelected. Is he going to refuse to leave the Oval Office? And that talk went on and, of course, got heated. And then when he didn't win re-election, there was that talk before the inauguration time. Well, he physically left the building, but he ain't going anywhere for the time being, and he ain't gone anywhere. And here's the stuff. And I decided, before we went on, I was telling Dave a long, short story about my approach to things. I got a milestone birthday coming up in a few weeks. And I won't get into that at length, except to say that I've had some people in my circle, more and more people I'm hearing about dying are people that I knew, not friends of my parents. You know how that goes?
I get that.
Hey, did you hear, Mr. Schwartz died? Yeah, that's too bad. He and Mom used to, Dad, they bowled and all that shit. Now every other name I hear is like, I went to school with that guy. So I promise I'm incapable of saying that I'm unwilling and not going to lie or be a hypocrite to say that I'm going to change my stand on shit. But I'm going to try to come at things from a little bit more lighthearted perspective because life is short. And here's the thing. I found the whole thing with the Orange Idiot this week, when I chose to look at it this way, to be hilarious. And here's the quick bullet points of the hilarity. First of all, he and all his flying monkeys are now convinced and sure and talking everywhere they can that he's going to be reinstated as president come August because
good. We have something to look forward to.
Yeah. So the Arizona recount and the Colorado recount will prove that the election and all the rest of that. But here's the really funny one, and that came along later in the week, and I didn't hear it. I didn't even go looking for it because part of my new attitude is to not only find the humor in it, but to stop wasting time editing shit when I don't want to listen to it in the first place.
Right.
Because I can read the summaries. Some right wing, and that's translate pinhead pencil dick, talk show host had him as a guest, a phone guest or whatever, because he was giving him a platform to rant and rave about the big lie bullshit. This talk show host threw this guy through
which host was it?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I just know I saw the article and I don't care. They're all the same to me. He said he threw this little nugget out for the orange idiot to grab hold of. And strategically, it's a brilliant idea. And it's not undoable.
And yeah, it's not illegal either.
And it's not illegal. And here's what he told him he should do. He said he should not. He told Trump, do not run for president in 2024. Run for Congress. All Donald has to do is pick a state, any district that's got red caps and red blood, red saturation shit everywhere. Run for Congress. And I don't care if you put Nathan, pick one of the most popular, Abraham fucking Lincoln. Trump is going to be elected to Congress.
Right.
Then he gets in there. He's going to do his little Don Corleone bullshit, and he will be elected Speaker of the House in a Republican Congress. See where this is going?
That would be so beautiful.
And then
he and Pelosi could just face off.
Well, the kicker for this talk show host was then, Mr. President, as Speaker of the House, you can initiate the magic word, impeachment proceedings against Joe Biden and set things right. And I thought, okay, like Daddy always used to say, if the front door ain't open, go in the back door. It's just as good.
Now, here's the question. If say all that falls in line,
yeah, he's
impeached.
Who's impeached?
Now, Biden. Say this all falls in line,
right,
the way they hypothetically are saying
right,
it.
Right.
Doesn't that elevate Kamala Harris to president?
It does. And I didn't go to the extent to research how they had to accommodate for that or account for that, but you can bet dollars to donuts with the kind of insanity that they're, there is a genius involved in their evil. That's the problem with evil geniuses.
Dr. Evil.
My little finger's out. That's the problem with evil genius. I'm sure they've got some way that they can get around that. But then in the pecking order, after Kamala, it would be the Speaker of the House, and Donald's back, baby. So I thought, you know what? Then somebody came along with a meme shortly after that in tying with that comment that I'd heard and this crap going on in Arizona, this hysterical and yet not. And the meme was this. We all talk about Einstein's definition of insanity. This was the new spin, and I laughed out loud, literally. I chortled. The definition of insanity is counting the same votes over and over again and expecting a different result.
That would make sense. That would make sense.
All right. 2 other quick notes, and then I'll open the floor on this particular topic. The flying monkeys are all, and I saw them briefly and closed my eyes and ears and went on in a jovial mood. Swam some laps. Ate some sugar-free candy. Got all gaseous. They're talking about Fauci and his emails, and I'm like, first of all, that's all I had to hear. I haven't read the emails. I haven't read the articles. I don't fucking care. It's Hillary's emails. It's Fauci's emails. They're so goddamn desperate to find some shit. But this was the part where I said, I'll mention this. And Kayleigh McEnroe said, literally, I heard the sound clip. Fauci needs to be held accountable for all of his lies to the American people, unquote. And all I could do in my clever, analogous way that I do in those things, that shit, saying that about him from where she's come from and who she's working with and what she's doing is like Hitler's Holocaust architects demanding that Jeffrey Dahmer be held responsible for his dietary habits.
I happened to read the emails, and he does need to be investigated.
Not in this fucking lifetime. Not until Donald Trump and all his fucking lackeys for all 5 years of everything comes out of his mouth was a fucking lie. Don't talk to me about who needs to be held accountable. I'm with you under ordinary circumstances. But this ain't that way.
Yeah,
good for the goose, good for the orange idiot.
Yeah, some of the revealing things in the emails are. Remember, he was pushing the wet market that this didn't occur in a lab. It did the whole time, and he knew it.
Okay,
and it's all about funding. That's all it is. It's all about funding.
Don't care. You know the phrase that they use in Law and Order all the time: "Fruit of the poisonous tree." Mm-hmm. That's what this is. I don't care if it's discovered that Fauci fucked little boys in Times Square. That's horrendous and horrific. Don't care. Because the bar is non-existent. And that was my major, thing. And this is me taking a lighter-hearted approach to the whole thing. All right, let's do Dave's thing.
You're cranky today.
Somebody interrupted my nap.
Fucking Norm.
But just because I love you, I spent the extra money to have the guys come in and redub the voice there.
I love it.
Wasn't clearly Dave's world. Anyway, flying monkeys, that's my new expression for anybody who's circling the
Hey, I don't know if you saw
Trump radar.
I don't know if you saw the announcement from the top officials of the Fed. They're saying right now they're doing what they can to sugarcoat what's ahead economically for the United States, right? We may hit a transitory period of inflation that will settle hopefully by 2022. This is what's coming. It's hyperinflation, basically. And by definition, for those of you guys listening who don't know what hyperinflation is, it's an unusual rapid rate of monetary inflation as when prices rise more than 100% in the period of a year. Well, in the period of 3 months.
I'm just imagining the number of people listening right now who are thinking to themselves,
I wish they'd go back to talking about the flying monkeys. I like the flying monkeys.
Well, this gives you kind of, I looked some of this stuff up. 1,000 feet of lumber was $304. It's now $1,500. Gallons of gas, $1.95 to $3.05.
how much is a woody?
I like that. A ton of wheat went from $183 to $251. A ton of coal, $39 to $80. And just for something that everybody uses, a bushel of corn went from $343 to $686.
Okay, and these rises are the result of what?
It's hard to say. It's easy to blame Biden, but it's not always the president. Like gas prices aren't controlled by the president. So everybody who's wanting to blame Biden.
No, and what happens to the economy has a delay effect too.
Yeah. So basically, what's going on right now? We have some serious. It's devaluation of the dollar is what the problem is, and the dollar has been devaluating for the last couple of years.
Well, that's what I was going to say. The other term for that, for those of you who are non-economical people, it's standard operating procedure.
Yeah. So, but apparently, we're going to get into, and the overpricing of real estate right now is really out of control. And I think we're going to probably hit the Obama era 2008 real estate crash at some point. You know what I mean?
And I don't think I'd say this if I certainly wouldn't say if I was 50 years younger, but even if I was 10 or 15 years younger, I wouldn't say what I'm about to say. In a larger sense, in the big picture sense, not in the individual day-to-day where people have to deal with these things, because we all do as consumers, but in the larger big picture, none of this makes any fucking difference. And here's the reason why. Shit goes up, shit goes down.
Right.
It's physics. It's life. It's existence. If you pick any period in history, world history, or especially American history, you'll find periods where the price of this is up and then the price of this is down. And it's like cyclical. And the energy and the emotion and the resources and all the rest of that is spent in noticing these things, trumpeting these things, analyzing these things, reanalyzing these things, interpreting the analyzation, just seems to me at this point in my own life to be an inordinate waste of time and energy and money, because, shit goes up and shit goes down. I literally do. I remember sitting in line.
For gas?
Yeah. In 1974.
I remember with my parents sitting in line for gas.
Well, soon your friends are going to start dying too. It won't just be your mom's friends.
I think if this keeps up pretty soon, we're going to be sitting in line for gas again.
Anyway, yeah, and it's not good. It's nothing to take lightly, but at the same time, I think it's about taking it seriously, but in context. Understanding what you're talking about.
Well, the reason I brought it up is because the Fed made an announcement. That's, I wouldn't have even brought it up.
I suspect that anyway.
So that's
is that a good thing or not for you?
I think
when you say the Fed said it, does that give it validity, or is that giving
since they kind of set the chart the course for financials for the country? Yes. Okay. I mean, if like Consumer Magazine had said it, I would have just blown it off. But when the Fed comes out and says it, I'm like,
how about TMZ?
Well, no, obviously you got to take that one serious.
You see how I'm lightening the load as we go? That's it. Okay.
And a quick question, dude. Are you?
I don't answer questions during Dave's World. I expect you to give me information and answers. I
don't know if you saw this, and I was trying to find. I saw an article pop up. I read it. And I was like, this is absolutely fucking insane. But then when I went to find the article again, I couldn't find it. But it was in one of the cities like Chicago or maybe San Francisco. They had gun drop boxes on the street.
Had to be Texas.
No. It was like to get firearms out of people's hands.
Oh, okay.
drop boxes on the streets. You know, so
Okay, sure.
So the
like a Goodwill box.
Yeah, yeah. So criminals with lock cutters would know where to get all the guns.
That's definitely Texas.
But I was like, that's fucking insane. No, nobody gives up guns in Texas, so you know it's not Texas. But
I didn't say they were full drop boxes. I just said they were.
That's fucking insane.
Well, again, under ordinary circumstances, I would agree with you wholeheartedly. But you have to keep in mind, we're living down the rabbit hole. We're living in the nebula.
Yeah.
We're living in an alternate reality.
Yeah, but
submitted for your approval.
The criminals could be sitting around in their clubhouse, you know, because all the criminals have clubhouses.
There's just one. It's a clubhouse.
They're sitting in their clubhouse and they're like, you know what? We need more firearms. And, you know, Criminal Jack says, down on 3rd Avenue, they got that drop box.
I'll tell you what flashed on my head. You know, who amongst us has not seen at least once, if not many times, the classic Martin Scorsese film, Goodfellas?
Yes.
And the narration when in that first time in the bar when they're going around doing the in and outs on the various hoods and he's describing their names. And one of them was named Tony 2 times.
Yeah.
Because he said everything 2 times. And the guy steps up and he goes, I'm going to go get the papers, And when you were saying that just now, I'm thinking, oh, then you just call on Tony 2 times to go, I'm going to go get the guns at the drop box. You know, it makes no sense at all, which in the scheme of America 2021 makes absolutely perfect sense.
Yeah, but I saw that. I couldn't even believe, and it looked like a little.
Well, we need to
like
research
a little postage.
We need to research that.
Yeah.
I'd like to know where that is. Let's make a note and have the intern take care of that. Gun drop box. Mr. Dillon?
Yes.
No,
yes.
I'm just saying. Gun drop box. I may look that up myself if I'm not busy, you know, sending my lawnmower back for repair.
That is too funny.
That's what I do.
Did you see where the federal government recovered $2.3 million of the $5 million that was paid?
I did.
In Bitcoin.
I did. And you know who did that? Law enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
Federal law enforcement, like the FBI.
Yeah.
Like the Department of Justice, like, you know, the other law enforcement agencies that the previous guy who lived in the Oval Office decided were terrible organizations, badly run, need to get rid of them. They don't do anything but make me miserable. I just, by the way, I you know, and lighthearted means I'm not going to change my stand, but I'm going to come at it from a comedic point of view. If you're in any way, shape, or form still supporting this orange sack of shit, you're still a moron, and you always will be. But I just want to be clear that you understand what I'm talking about.
Well, I'll tell you what he was right about.
I didn't say he was always wrong.
The
I
lab
just said
leak.
he's an orange sack of shit.
He was right about the lab leak. Hey, but
broken clock. Broken clock.
But
twice a day.
I was talking to one of my buddies, John, down in Miami, and we were talking about how do you combat these hackers right now?
There's this bill. Have you seen this thing? Where is it? Federal, I think, legislature somewhere. No, it can't be because they don't do shit. You know what they do in the House goes to Mitch, and he goes, "No, we're not doing this. I'm being Ahab," and etc. But the bill is designed to ban ransom payments,
right,
for cyber hacking. That to me is
a bill's not going to get it done.
Well, no, but I'm saying, well, not only that to me, and this is saying a whole lot, and I think it's from Democrats. I'm not sure. I don't remember. I should have written it down. It's a sign that I don't really care that much. I hesitate because there's so many to choose from, but I want to say that's a big leading contender for the dumbest fucking thing I've heard.
Yeah.
And here's why. Okay, what are you going to do then?
Yeah.
All right. And I'm not advocating paying off. It's the same thing as we don't deal with terrorists. Well, yeah, you do. You just don't openly give in to terrorists,
right.
But you got to figure it out because when somebody's got your kid by the shoulder, you know, wrapped around with a knife in their fucking jugular, you're going to do what you need to do to make sure that kid lives.
Well, John and I had an in-depth discussion, and this is what we kind of.
You're not supposed to have in-depth discussions with anybody but me.
I was cheating on you. You're cranky. You're too cranky to talk to.
I think I'm being delightful today, if you want to know the truth. I can hear myself being charming.
Why are the, you know, I mean, why are the white supremacists in America the only thing that we're willing to call domestic terrorists? Why aren't hackers terrorists?
I haven't heard anybody say that it's not okay to call them terrorists.
I know, but they don't call them terrorists.
It's not sexy enough yet.
Well,
yeah.
How do we handle terrorists? The Navy SEALs, the Rangers, Special Forces,
the wet teams.
You know, I'm saying, why don't we get why don't we get military with these hackers? And I tell you what, you go into a basement where you got a bunch of little fuckers hacking and maybe kill one of them.
You got to be, if I haven't told you this story before, then I think I have. And I think you may be subconsciously retooling it for your uses here. When I day managed, one of my day jobs during my illustrious checkered show business past career, I managed a major retail record store outlet. I shouldn't say for the purpose because they don't exist.
Tower Records.
No, it rhymes with Rower Records, just in case any legal issues. And the last few years I managed with them, the last few years of their existence, they started carrying some electrical equipment a la Best Buy, DVD players, VCR, shit like that. And they were stacked up in stacks on the front pillars of the store. And a lot of the stores had the problem with people, and I say people, vermin coming in and walking around, yo, what's up, man? Hey, and they're having a buddy distract somebody and then grabbing 2 or 3 DVRs and hauling ass out of the building. And I was at a regional meeting one time with half a dozen regional managers, one of the big honchos, the other store managers, et cetera, blah, 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 talking about the issue. And at the time, they gave us data, and I believed it, that the average store, retail store of any real size, loses as much as 25 to 30% of their gross sales, quote unquote, if you take the numbers off, due to the losses from, and especially in a place like that,
shoplifting and theft.
And theft. So they said, well, we're looking at our alarms and security and blah, 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 blah. And they went around the room and they said, let's pick our brains. Do you have any? And they got to me. And I said, well, I can solve the problem for you in a heartbeat. One thing is all it's going to take. And that'll be the end of it. And they said, what? I said, kill one of them. And everybody laughed because they thought I was being funny. And I was kind of being funny. But I said, no, I'm not really making a joke. I said, you catch one in the act, which would be easy to do because it's like fishing in a stock pond. There's so many of them. I said, you grab him, you take him to the center of the store, you pull out the Glock and you blow his fucking head off. And there was this, I could see the blood draining faces of these managers thinking, who's this psycho running our store? And I said,
word will spread.
Very, very, very quickly. And the parenthetical, not to wander too far down the path or take too much time with it, that's an offshoot from a joke I heard a long time ago, which was wonderful, cute, fun thing. Short version. Parents had 2 kids, little guys, but one of them had a mouth. Every other word out of his mouth was "fuck you, cocksucker." This, and it was like they tried bribing, they tried punishing, they tried rewards, they tried. Nothing worked. And finally, the father was at the end of the rope. He said, "First word comes out of that one's mouth, I'm going to teach him a lesson, and that's it." And they sit down to dinner, and the father says, "What would you boys like?" And he looks at the older boy first, and he says, "What would you like?" And the kid says, "Give me some fucking potatoes." And the father gets up and just fists up and pummels the living bejesus out of this kid. Just turns him into a pulp, like the old Beetle Bailey cartoon where Beetle used to get beat up, and he's in a bloody, pulpy mess, laying there on the floor. And the father slings his hands and sits back down and kind of serves himself and turns to the younger kid and said, "Now, what would you like?" And the kid said, "I don't want no fucking potatoes." It's kind of like that with that. So, yeah, that would do it. But you know what?
They won't. Why not get the military involved? That's what we got the military for.
Because we're
pussies. There, I said it. I said it, Scott.
Yeah. The problem, How many episodes of Law and Order or pick any dramatic cop type series that you want? How many times have you seen the plot play itself out where the bad guy gets the upper hand on the good guy because the good guy shows compassion,
right? Instead
of just blowing the fucker away. Okay. I've never watched, this is interesting, there was a detective, quote-unquote, series on for 5-6 years called Rizzoli and Isles. Angie Harmon, who was in Law and Order, and Sasha Alexander, who played the agent early on in NCIS. They teamed up, and it was based on a novel. A detective and a medical examiner. So they were kind of like Thelma and Louise and blah, blah. And I like both those actresses, and we were looking for something new to binge watch, so I found it. I was watching, the very first episode was a search for a serial killer who had kidnapped Angie Harmon some years ago and blah, blah, blah. Well, she's recaptured, he's recaptured, they recaptured, and the climactic scene is she gets the jump on him finally and sticks a lighted flare in his face to get from getting killed, and he's on the ground, and she takes the Glock away from him because she's about to be raped and killed again and blah, blah, blah. And the camera pans up to her, and he's on the ground, his face all burned and everything, and he's still cackling. And he goes, well, looks like you went, because he had stabbed her in the hands in the previous kidnapping as a thing. But the beauty of it was now there he is, and that you can hear the sirens, the backup's finally coming and all that, but she's gone through this ordeal, and the camera pans up to her from his point of view, and she's got the fucking Glock, and she's pointing it right down at the camera, like as him.
Right.
And you fully expect her to go, and that's the end of that. Now get up, you're under arrest. She pulls the fucking trigger. And I turned to my wife and I went, yeah! Well, what she did was she shot him through the hands and then back to her, and she goes, now we're even, and walks away. But I thought to myself, damn, she didn't blow him away.
Yeah, she should have blown him away.
Just one.
Mm-hmm.
Because the word will spread.
Yeah, like I said, if you Bin Laden style, if you send the SEALs into a basement in Pakistan where these fuckers are hacking, and first guy through the door puts a bullet through the first one's head he sees.
Mm-hmm.
This shit's going to end quick.
Well, that's how they took out Bin Laden, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. All right. I agree. The problem is, how do you do that? And I'm not talking about the bleeding heart bullshit or the Save the Whales Foundation or any of that. Very important and valuable contributors to society. I'm talking about the simple act of civilization. At what point? Because then it's about line drawing. It's about parameters being put in place. Where do you go? Then what's next?
Well, the line's drawn that you don't hack the U.S. And then we move on to the next issue, and there'd be another.
I know, but once again, I've done nothing but agree with you. But I'm questioning now, just for the sake of discussion, philosophically, what happens when then the next time you got to kill 2 or you got to kill 10, or at what point do you draw the line and say we can't do this because
when there's no more to kill?
And there you go. Let's do politics.
The country's in the very best of hands. The best of hands. The best of hands.
All right. I don't have bullet point. We talked a lot of political stuff at the beginning of the show, but I wanted to just mention this because I had a little baby epiphany. Not a big full-grown epiphany, but a little baby epiphany.
Sweet baby Jesus.
Sweet baby Jesus. And our most very good friend, Taco Bell. I have been, to nobody's great surprise, and especially if you listen to what we do here, I've been intellectually grappling for a long, long time with trying to articulate what it is about what's wrong and put it in enough words. And I'm talking about with the political thing, with the GOP and their shit, and the Trump and the crap and the Democrats. And I'd like to let it go, but I can't. Okay, I can't. Painter's got to paint. Swimmer's got to swim. Dancer's got to dance. Thinker's got to think, and that's what I do. But I had the little baby epiphany this week. I don't know what triggered it. I don't care, and I'm going to make this short and sweet. But here's what it is. And I'm talking about this group of shit stackers that call themselves Republicans right now. They don't resemble anything that I've ever known in the history of my entire adult life. The GOP, as I knew the Republican Party and those in the Republican Party. I can't prove it, but I stand by it. The noteworthy, famous, legendary Republicans of all American history, I don't give a shit. Name a name, I don't care who it is. They would all be aghast at the shit that's going on in the name of the Republican Party right now. But it occurred to me what they're doing. And I've always known what they're doing, but I wasn't able to articulate it until this week for some strange reason. I looked up the word looting in the dictionary, and I know what the word means. But I like to be authentic in my presentation.
Well, there you go.
Not to mention dramatic. Dun, dun, dun. Quote, to steal goods from a place, typically during a war or riot, unquote. In other words, in my interpretation, the opportunity presents itself. And those who recognize it as an opportunity decide to get what they can while the getting's good. That's, in a nutshell, really what looting is.
Yes.
It's an expression of emotion and blah, 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 but it's basically just ripping off the cash register because it's open and the guy's got his back turned. That's what looting is. And there, right there, in my opinion, is what this inept sack of shit group that calls itself Republicans is doing. And here's the reasons why. Pick a metaphor. The wheels are off the wagon. The cork is out of the bottle. The inmates have taken over the asylum. Honor, integrity, Patriotism, even fake patriotism, the good old-fashioned kind, where some politician pretends to be of the red, white, and blue, but is totally about themselves, but at least shows us the dignity to not just do it in our faces. That shit is all off the table, and here's the reason why. Because Donald Trump shattered the windows, Donald Trump knocked down the doors, Donald Trump took the bar that gets lowered or raised and said, fuck that shit, and tossed it off in the middle of nowhere. He lit the fuses, he caused the explosions that he wanted, he got the results he was looking for. And he also got something he wasn't counting on. He accidentally got elected president of the United States. And then for 4 years, he considered to shatter the windows, knock down the doors, light the fuses, the shit that he's still doing but has done. And for 4 years, the social and moral and psychological, even the basic decent, here's the line you just don't cross ever, because if you do, you put civilization at risk, okay? Those things don't exist, and they're ignored. And because they clearly have no fucking idea and no inspiration at all to throw to people, to get people to want to vote for them, to put them into office, to win elections, and they can't win elections by any other means than gerrymandering the districts or rigging the system or suppressing the votes, this GOP is getting while the getting's good. They're not limited to what they take or what they score or what they want to do, because the windows are shattered, the doors are knocked down, and the opportunity is going tick-tock. And this political party is nothing but a combination cult, lynch mobs, scum of the earth. They're just a band of looters getting it while they can. Okay. And they shouldn't, because they shouldn't, but they especially shouldn't because they're not your ignorant street people. They're not your emotionally led, supposedly crazy ass. They're not supposedly they're not of the intellect or category of lifestyle that would turn them into lynch mobsters. Lynch leaders, bet your ass, but not lynch mobsters. But they're no better than those people that climb into the broken window and grab a bunch of DVD players and go running down the street.
See, the only problem you have with your...
I don't have a problem with it.
No. With what you laid out is you're pointing to one party when we have two parties obviously doing it.
Yeah, I was prepared for that. Can you imagine?
You are.
And here's what I got to say to you. From this day forward, you and I are not going to have that discussion anymore. And I'll tell you why.
Okay.
I will respect your right to say whatever you want to say in terms of what your opinion is of what I say. Mm-hmm. But this, I know you are, but what am I? What you are, what am I? It doesn't wash, because what you do, in my perspective, with all due respect,
okay,
what you're doing when you say essentially everybody does it is conflating one with the other, saying that it's the same thing, that whatever the comparison may be. And here's the reason why I'm not going to engage that anymore. In the time it just took me to say that sentence, and I'm just spitballing here, across the entire United States of America, I don't know the stats, but let's just say 25 people killed 25 other people in this country. Okay. And let's just say that even the 25 people killed a couple of people all across this country. But none of those 25 people killed 6 million people. There's murder and there's murder. There's looting and there's looting. Okay. One is not the same as another. And I don't give a fuck that everybody does it, because it's not the same. And that's a pointless conversation.
Okay.
I'm not saying don't say what you want to say. This is as much your show as mine. But I'm just, and when I was writing my little piece, because I was feeling right about it, just felt right to say, it's looting. They're taking, Trump has shattered the windows and they're climbing in and taking what they can get their hands on and shoving it in their pockets while they've got the chance. McConnell at the front of the list. We're not going to vote on this. We're not going to do anything except stop this administration. That's looting. That's going in and taking the good stuff that can be done and either burning it to the ground or shoving it in their pockets and running on down the street. They're misbehaving unlawfully because the opportunity has presented itself, and instead of doing the right thing, they're no different than the people that smashed the windows and set fire to the buildings. And I don't care that other,
well, yeah.
It's not the same.
Your point of view is well taken. The way you paint, and you always have since we've been doing this show, every Republican is bad. Every Democrat is compassionate. No, it's fucked up, Scott. It really is.
It's not true.
It really is.
It's not accurate. And if the Democratic Party, if the pages were flipped, and if this had happened 4 years ago, and Joe Biden was president then and conducted himself, or pick any Democrat you want who conducted himself or herself like this and had the political party behaving in the way it is, my conscience is clear. I'd be raving and raiding and ranching just as fucking much. It doesn't make any difference to me whether it's the Republicans or the Democrats. In this particular timeline of history, it just happens to be the Republican Party. And do you know why it's the Republican Party and not the Democratic Party?
Why is it the Republican
I'll give you
Party?
this much, and then you'll enjoy this.
Okay.
Because Donald goddamn Trump ran for president as a fucking Republican instead of as a Democrat. If he'd run as a Democrat, I'll grant you that there's probably a whole swath of Democrats that would be doing the same shit right now.
I bet you the entire party would be doing the same thing right now.
If that's what you need, then you knock yourself out. But that's just selling yourself on what you just said. Now you're casting the brush that all the Democrats are bad, and they're not. We both know that.
No,
neither are the Republicans.
I'm telling you right now, they're all bad, both sides of the aisle. So no, I'm not isolating any of them.
I'm the cynic. Yeah.
Fuck all of them, Scott. Fuck all of them.
All right, let's sum up. Dave says all the politicians, every single fucking one of them need to go. Absolutely zero tolerance on anything that can be exterminated with a military group and a couple of AR-15s and then cold beer afterwards. God damn, this is a great country.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying.
That's what I'm talking about.
Hang on. Let me tell you something. With an attitude like that, you know what's going to happen to you? You're going to get drafted to run for president. You're going to find your ass in the Oval Office. You're going to have to give up drumming and all that shit you love because you shot your mouth off.
Well, guess what? You didn't happen to see any of my favorite person, Kamala Harris's press conference, did you?
No.
That bitch is crazy. Look,
Dave's got repressed feelings.
She was trying to disclose what the root cause for the border crisis is.
For the border crisis?
Yeah, what the root cause was. Mm-hmm. So the president of Guatemala and the president of Mexico helped her out. They basically said it's the Biden border policy is the root cause of the problems at the border. Mm-hmm. And she went, it's deeper. It's much deeper than that. And then they said, are you going to the border? And she goes, we've been to the border. And then she backtracks. So, well, we haven't been to the border. Mm-hmm. What is she doing in that job, Scott?
The same thing that most politicians do in that job. Being subservient to whatever the president has instructed them that they want done in that circumstance.
So I started thinking about this a lot. And she said to the people of Guatemala, if you're thinking about making that long trek, don't come to the U.S. Meanwhile, every single policy her party.
What channel was this on? Do you happen to know? Was it MSNBC or CNN or what?
I saw it was on the internet.
Okay. Well, she was being interviewed, so she had to be on some.
It was probably on every network.
Okay. Well, let's just assume that the core interview was done on MSNBC,
right?
For example, for the sake of the reason I was laughing was because the people who are inclined to take whatever 3 little pieces of possessions they have and take their starving children, stuff them in a knapsack, and try to come across the border from Guatemala are probably not getting MSNBC with their premium cable package.
Well, that's true, but what the president of Guatemala said is, you saying don't come and your country's policy saying do come are in direct conflict of each other.
You know what? I don't like that, and I agree with you in the principle of that's abhorrent, but here's the part that gets missed in these conversations and when these debates go back and forth, and this is another one of my famous things with I'm more and more I'm dismissing most of it as a waste of time, and here's the reason why. And I'm not condoning or defending it, I'm describing and I'm defining it for you. That's politics as usual. That's America, the fucked up, usual dysfunctional that we talked about before the election that we yearn to get back to. Does it suck? You betcha. Could it be done better? Absolutely. Do we need more intelligent people in the jobs taking care of every little need that needs to be happening? I'm not being sarcastic. You bet your ass we do. Is there a chance in hell that's going to happen anytime soon? No. Fuck no. It doesn't matter because that's not what you're talking about. When you're talking about America, or the world, you're talking about a group of failed human beings trying to get the job done.
Right.
That's at a different level than the other thing, the black thing, the looting thing, the dark cloud, stopping the system. Let's go. In the old days, Back when I was a lad. Again, we've talked about this 1,000 times. It's the lack of, it's the underlying attitude. It's the underlying cancer. It's the, no, I think you should do this. No, I think you do that. Back them. No, me, I think you up. And that's the way it goes because that's what we are as people. But the end game in the back of both of their minds and all of their minds at all time is ultimately, once we get past this saber-rattling bullshit, we're going to have to figure out a way to work together and make it go. That's the part that's missing.
Yeah.
And that's the only part that matters.
Yep.
And that's been subplaced. I just made that word up. That's been subplaced by this. If you don't support everything that we're, it's tribal. It's the tribal shit.
Yes.
It doesn't matter that we're doing. It's not political parties. It's not philosophies. It's not dogmas coming together or
It's
in conflict
tribes.
and debate. It's fucking tribes.
Yep.
And you're either, it's the Hatfields and the McCoys. You're either for us or you're Guinness. An Alec Guinness. There's a little cultural reference in there.
Alec Guinness.
Yeah.
I like that.
Because there you go. All right. On a totally unrelated subject, because we know we've cut way back on the amount of politics we want to talk about. Billie Eilish. This is random Blab time anyway. Billie Eilish was on Colbert, and I saw he was still doing the split screen thing. All the talk show guys are about to go back to their studios.
Back to the live studio.
And thank
yeah.
God, because the lack of laughter has been palpable.
Did you see
palpable.
where Juan Williams left the 5?
Juan Williams was kicked from the 5 by that little Gutfeld.
Well, no,
you know what? Gutfeld.
He didn't want to go back in the studio, so it was kind of a 50-50 thing. They said.
Okay, because Gutfeld's in there.
Well, Gutfeld wanted to go back to the studio. It's his show, really. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Gutfeld needs to get on the next flight with Buddy Holly.
He is funny.
Yeah, he's funny. Billie Eilish was on Colbert anyway. And I like her. Let me just say that before I say what's going to piss all the Billie Eilish fans off.
I don't like her, so there.
Well, I like what she's accomplished at a young age, and for a kid who's obviously very young and very immature, but at the same time. And her brother, I like the brother too, because he's the guy behind the scenes. They're
Right.
kind of the Xanax
Carpenters.
version of Richard and Karen Carpenter. Yeah. But she was on Colbert, and she's a blonde now. But it turns out she is a natural blonde, she says, and she did the black with the green thing as a thing. And she's been wearing a wig for some time now to keep the black-green thing. But this is how silly this is, the way it sounds, the way I'm talking. I didn't see her on the show. I saw the sound clip, the video clip. I didn't watch the whole thing. Luckily, I saw the clip, so I was able to fast forward. So I was able to clock it without having to sit there. Colbert and Billie Eilish spent 24 minutes and 12 seconds talking about her, quote, journey from black and green hair to becoming a blonde, unquote.
Society sucks.
You want to talk about what's wrong with life in general? That's what it is. Now, here's the other thing. I like what she does in my own, I'm hip and groovy at an old age to the young people in their music scenes. And I was going to say but I'll give her an and. I'm not doing a Billie Eilish impression, and I'm not singing like she does, but I'm making a point with what I'm about to do. She is, in my opinion, at this point, however successful and revered and loved and all that, and this is going to go over the heads of many and right to the heart of, would you know that? So I don't want to hear from you, so shut up. I'm just saying what I'm saying. She's a one-trick pony so far.
Yes.
She's good at it, and she's got a following.
Every song sounds the same.
Thank you very much. Because she had an early hit called Therefore I Am. And this doesn't sound like Therefore I Am. I'm using this as an example. But her style is I'm approximating. It's kind of like a Therefore I am. Okay. Now, and again, that doesn't sound like the song or like her, but that's the general gist. She's got a song out now, though, this new album, Lost Cause, and I'm telling you, I listen to that thing, kicking out the jams, rocking the house. It goes a little like this, and I'm approximating. It's a lost cause. It's a lost cause. It's a lost cause. Now, she and her brother wrote, performed, produced, etc., the theme for the finally forthcoming new James Bond film called No Time to Die, and that was out like a year and a half ago because of the COVID thing. And check that out. They did a beautiful job of it, and it kind of goes like, no time to die, no time to die.
When is that movie coming out?
I think they're talking about
October, November, or something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And they're apparently not going to do with that what they've been doing with some of the major. The Broccoli girl lady, the producer lady, said they're not going to split. By split, a lot of major movies are being released to theater and streaming to HBO Max. I think they'll bend. I think it'll be on 20 minutes because I ain't going there. Why should I go? I got a 94,000 inch flat screen and theater sound, and I don't have to put up with theater bullshit. Why would I?
I don't blame you at all.
I would wait.
Don't blame you at all.
Anyway, but I like Billy. She's.
I don't.
Okay.
It all sounds the same to me.
Well, I don't like like the one trick pony, but there's something about her. She's quirky. I like quirky people who are.
There you go.
It's like Gaga, and she's not in a class with Gaga in terms of chops, but and
Gaga's immensely talented.
Yes, and I like to keep my finger on the pulse of the young people and what they're doing.
Yeah.
You thought I was going to say the finger on young people, but I wasn't.
I like fingering young people.
All right. And the other thing I mentioned, I think I sent you the post for those of you who are fans and who shouldn't be or wouldn't be. The Beach Boys have a new box set coming out in July, but it's strictly collector's stuff.
It looks amazing. It looks like it'll be really cool.
But excuse me. But if you're one of those oldsters who's thinking, I'd love to hear Surfing USA again. No, this is from a different period, and it's a lot. And it's like I saw the track listing. It's about 3,000 tracks.
Well, the thing that I liked is the way they broke it down. They broke it down to this is basically the Beach Boys get Let It Be and Abbey Road.
Yeah, because they were on a parallel track.
Yeah. So I liked when they made the the comparison to those two albums.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was pretty neat. When
I was a big fan of that period. I think the Sunflower album, the Surf's Up album was genius.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was just, and this is all inside talk unless you're a Beach Boy geek.
It's a shame Smile never really came until 30 years later or whatever.
You know what? Even when it did, I'm entitled to this because they were my generation. Okay, that was my music. When 1961, I wasn't really aware of them or really became aware of them in 64 when the Beatle thing came along. And I was 13. So, yeah, I can say this about it. It's like when Mick Jagger once trashed the Beatles while they were all together and John Lennon said, knock that shit off. And Jagger said, what are you doing? You trash them all the time. He goes, it's my fucking band. I can trash them if I want to. So it's kind of the same thing with Beach Boys. I was never a big fan when they wandered off the transcendental meditations of Mike Love and all the spiritually goofy shit and all that. But I liked melodically that period of Surf's Up and Sunflower.
Did you ever hear the Smile box set?
Oh, that's what I was going to say about Smile. I had it. And by the time Smile did come along, it was largely anticlimactic.
Right.
There was no way it could live up to the hype. And sure enough,
it did. Yeah.
No, not to me. But then again, it's the pointlessness of lists, for example. Lists are fun. What's your top 10 favorite Brian Wilson songs? And you can enjoy hearing what other people have to say. Right. But if you're taking that as gospel.
Well, yeah, you know what I love on Sirius, on the Beatles channel? Yeah. They have different celebrities, and they'll do their top 3 Beatles songs. That's and it's weird to see, some of the guys out, that are way out there, they're like, well, I like Let It Be, I Want to Hold Your Hand, and it's just 3 of the real popular ones. And then these really people that are straight-laced, Tomorrow Never Knows. And, the really far out there Beatles songs.
Yeah, and it goes to show you that it's the thing, the paraphrase Gallagher from one of his routines. He said that, that's why there's 7,000 different flavors of cat food in the cat aisle. He goes, you're talking about an animal that licks its ass. Same thing with people. Different strokes, different folks. Yeah. The whole 9 yards. All right, let's do this and move it out of the way. Rim shots. And then we'll be back. Exciting new feature going to become a regular feature with us coming up very shortly. So don't you go away. Gosh darn it. Rim shots, sinking like a rock on the list of preferred female baby names, Karen. Dave has a Karen story. I'll tell it one of these days. Last couple of years, Karen, of course, has become synonymous with the phrase, I want to speak to your manager, or some ilk. In second place, though, and holding in there, the name that has become synonymous with, I'm miserable and can't wait to renegotiate my prenup so I can dump this fucking loser, Melania. FDA has issued a warning if you're allergic to seafood. We talked about chocolate covered last week. If you're allergic to seafood, don't eat cicadas, because they are biologically related to shrimp, sea creatures. I didn't know this, And here's a bonus Blab tip. Unless you're an idiot, don't eat the cicadas or the cicadas.
Is that one on your window right there?
I don't think so. I haven't seen any, unless that is one. I hope not.
It's shaped like one.
Well.
Wow.
I'm a little concerned that it appeared as I started talking about it.
He's like, wait a minute. He mentioned us.
A 3-year-old girl, and I don't remember where it was from, whether it was American, doesn't matter. It's a cute story. A 3-year-old girl has asked that her birthday cake depict the scene in Lion King where, spoiler alert, Simba's father dies. 3 years old, the kid said, quote, "Everyone will be too sad to take any, and it will be all for me." The child's name is Leona. Now, I say that because I want you to remember that name because she's bound to be announcing she's running for Congress from Georgia any day now. It'll be all for me. The Nevada state legislature has banned racially discriminatory school mascots. So Indians, Braves, anything to do with
spear chuckers.
Jungle bunnies. There was some Nazi punchline I was going to throw out, but you know what? I've officially reached a point on this whole topic where I just don't give a shit anymore. And this one's for Dave. Paris Hilton has sold her memoir, remember her, to Day Street Books. It will naturally not have a cover.
That's hot.
It's a little naked metaphor there. Okay, get it? And the first 500 purchasers will receive a candle that smells like Gwyneth Paltrow's pussy. I'm sorry. I misread that. Gwyneth Paltrow's vagina. You don't want to know what her pussy smells like. Oh, the show just went south. No pun intended. And we're just two guys talking. I got a heavy thing to ask you, but I may pass on it depending on what else you got.
Oh, you got a heavy thing to ask me?
Well, no, not necessarily. We're going to do the new Playhouse, so don't do that.
I've got
but you got anything else?
Did you, you know who Biogen is, right? That's a huge pharmaceutical company.
You betcha.
I don't know if you saw that they've just released a newly FDA-approved Alzheimer's drug.
I forget.
Yeah, it's called Aduhelm. Aduhelm. Aduhelm?
I want to know who comes up with the fucking names for these things. Because if you want them to be successful, you want people talking about them. And if you want people to talk about them, you got to give them easy words.
Well, the annual cost of this drug, which the executives of Biogen say are fair and responsible, is $56,000.
Per what?
Per person.
Okay. Over the course of what?
1 year.
Well, that's a little prohibitive.
Yeah. So, at what point is and I know until we ban lobbying,
good luck.
This isn't going to happen because the pharmaceutical company is one of the largest lobbying groups.
There's a problem with banning lobbying because there's something that has to be banned first, and you can't ban it.
Corrupt politicians.
Greed.
Yeah.
Of which corrupt politicians are merely a little indentation on the outline of greed. That's the big word.
My question is, at what point will someone step in? I know
They
to
won't.
a certain extent, Trump actually, that was one of the good things he tried to do when he tried to allow some of the pharmaceutical companies from other countries to come in who have regular pricing.
Mm-hmm.
What was the EpiPen was like $400 here and $9 in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
So at what point are we going to have the borders open up to these different pharmaceutical companies?
Are you asking literally or rhetorically?
No, rhetorically.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Ask me literally.
Okay, literally. Never.
Or not.
Because they're not going to give up that power. That's what I figured.
I mean, I'm not God, so I can't dictate what is in fact going to or not going to happen, but I can give you
what
my
we
best
need to
educated
do?
guess.
We need to send
AR-50 fucking
SEALs.
Military in.
We need to send the SEALs to Biogen, put a bullet in that guy's head. They'll adjust the pricing.
Okay. All right.
I think I've got an answer for everything.
I
now.
do, and you've simplified it tremendously, and I think that's exactly the way it should be. I'm going to skip over the other thing. No, it's too lengthy, and we don't have enough time. I was going to ask you about something lighthearted, like how do you feel about death? But there's no time for that because we dilly-dallied yelling at each other about the Democrats and the Republicans, and we need to go on to this, and then we can just piss away the last couple of minutes. Last week, Dave brought something that brought a tear to my eye and a gas bubble to my rectal area, and it was so moving that we thought, you know what? And I think I said on the air, I said, that was moving. We should do that every week. And he laughed and I laughed. Ha ha ha. We laugh on the show. And then I thought, you know what? Fuck no. Let's do it every week because I like to mix it up. And I used to do this with my regular real radio shows. if they had particular segments and things, after a while, I tried to have a showbiz sense of when it was starting to get a little tired and maybe it was time to move it on. Rim Shots is coming particularly close to that point. But the parting shots thing, it was one last chance to say the thing. We could do that in any case, so we're getting rid of that. But, well, I'll just introduce it and just know that if you were listening last week, you'll know what we're talking about. If not, welcome to it, and it will be with us for the foreseeable future until it wears out and we go on to something else. But it's time for
Uncle Dave's Butt Plug Playhouse.
You got background music and everything.
I like that.
Okay.
Oh, that's good. The production value of this just went through the roof.
Well, I'm here for you.
Well,
even though you're totally fucking wrong about the Democrats.
No. They need to be visible.
Don't lose your groove, Uncle Dave. It's time for the Butt Plug Playhouse.
Peace and serenity.
Serenity now. Cicada's still there, by the way.
Picture this, Scott.
Okay.
You're buzzing.
Uncle Dave.
Oh, sorry, I accidentally. Okay, go ahead.
Picture this, Scott. You're buzzing around town, minding your own business, making stops here and there. Just your average day. When suddenly you notice a chalky white fungus growing on your derriere.
I knew I'd be sorry for putting this segment in the show.
You don't pay much mind to it, but someone slightly attractive, someone that you normally wouldn't even be attractive to, comes along. And, looks really are starting to not matter at this point because you suddenly can't control your urge. You feel invincible, endless stamina, hypersexed beyond belief. So you get it on with that person in what will become the first of many encounters today. But a strange thing happened during that first encounter. Your butt falls off. It didn't hurt. It just fell off, only to be replaced with what looks like a chalky white elementary school eraser. Are you following me?
Right into the hole.
Okay.
No pun intended.
Of course, all of this mating that's going on, and it's insatiable, leads nowhere, as you no longer have any genitalia. The urge is so bad, and I know you can relate directly to this, Scott, because we've had talks, that not only do you mate with females, you start to pretend to be a female to mate more.
Ah, Ellen Page.
Thus spreading this sexually transmissible fungus, which is now completely controlling you and your chalky eraser butt. That's a disease called Massasospora, and it affects fewer than 5% of all the cicadas. Right now, what we have is cicadas that are hypersexed, mating till basically death, but this fungus attacks their ass, and their ass and genitalia fall off. So they start mating, and they just have sex and have sex and have sex. According to Matt Kassan, who's with the West Virginia University, he said it's a sexually transmissible disease. It's a failed mating attempt, of course, but because there's no genitalia back there. But you know what? No harm, no foul. They're all having a lot of fun while doing this.
And that's Uncle Dave's Butt Plug Playhouse for this week. And I have to tell you, I got a little sentimental there, because when I realized where you were going with that, I was flashing back to backstage at a Stones concert in 1977.
Yes. I like how they're so sexed that not only are they getting it on with females, but then they pretend to be females so they can get it on.
One does what one must to proliferate.
Sounds like Jagger and Bowie.
Yeah, no, that if that's a cicada, it's still on the window.
It's horny for you.
Well,
Scott.
you know what? I have a magnifying glass over there, and as soon as we leave, I'm going to jump up and see if there's any foamy.
They had pictures, and it's really weird. The entire ass end of them turned white. I'm not kidding.
Somebody somewhere, if they happen to be listening to this together, and I'm thinking an older married couple of some kind, probably the wife is turning to the husband and saying something along the lines of,
"That was a waste of an hour."
What the hell did he just say that was? What was the name of that? Because you get all foamy and shit now. You know.
The name of it was Massospora.
Tune in again next week for another exciting edition of
Dave's Butt House.
Uncle Dave's Butt Plug Playhouse.
All right, I got nothing else. There's no way to follow that, nor would I try.
Either.
All right, good job. Next week, who the hell knows? That's just what we're here for. We will we'll touch on all the subjects that matter to us, and if something happens to matter to you, then it's just gravy.
More power to you.
More power to you. We'll be back next time with more of The Blab.
The Blab.